everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I am continuing to do another Father's Day card. This one is a little bit different. I'm going to share some of my go-tos when it comes to making gender neutral or masculine cards. For me, that is kind of a difficult niche to fulfill, and so I'm going to share with you some of the things that have helped me. So one of the things that has helped me is leaves. Picking something that is a silhouette or a leaf, that is very gender neutral. That can be, depending on the color palette or the colors surrounding it, can go either direction. And so for me, that is a go-to, a leaf or a silhouette, not a flower, but a leaf. The other thing that is very helpful to me, and I just showed you and I'm showing you right now, is a geometric pattern or a geometric pattern. That is also very gender neutral. Something like this die right here, which I apologize, I do not know what this is from, but there are lots of companies that have postage stamp looking backgrounds on the market and dies. Waffle Flower is one of them that I'm thinking of right now. So let's kind of get into the card real quick. So like I said, I chose to do silhouette images. For me, that is a very gender neutral thing. And my color palette that I will list down below and kind of give you in a second here is another way to keep things very gender neutral. So I didn't do any pinks. I did do a really deep purple, but I didn't do pinks. I didn't do, pastels. I did jewel tones, and I did jewel tones because for me, blue is for boy, but that can be kind of boring. And so to give some interest, I just went with jewel tones. So these are all little mini ink cubes from Concord and Ninth. I have Peacock, Midnight, Eggplant, Stardust, Cayenne, and Evergreen. And what I'm doing here, these little mini ink cubes I've had for a very long time, and they are very dry, most of them. But for this particular technique where we're going to do kind of a faux watercolor look, the ink cubes work better just because I can get into smaller spaces. I'm trying to only do about 2 colors per image here, and I'm trying to get a variety. So some of the bigger stems, some of the smaller ones, just trying to get a variety and a variety of colors. There is Penny Black is a stamp company, and they have their brush stroke stamps. These are a red rubber cling stamp that I have tried to get my hands on in the past and just never seemed to get my hands on them. But I had this stamp set from Sizzix and 49th and Market, and I thought that this would be a good faux Penny Black homage. And so I'm gonna just kind of take notes from what I've seen them do in their videos. So like I said, this is going to be kind of a faux water brush or faux watercolor look, just by the technique that we're going to do. So I have a piece of HAMMERMILL cardstock, and I have the more textured side facing up because I do want that watercolor look to them. Once I was happy with the amount of ink I had on these stamps, I'm going to take a fine mister. I purchased this one from Amazon actually, and I'm just going to lightly mist this panel here. Some of the water did get away from me. I did get a little heavy-handed with my misting, but I'm just going to mist this with some water, and you're going to see that those inks immediately react. I almost re-inked these stamps or these ink pads, but I remembered that these are water reactive, and that water that I'm going to spray on them is just going to bring them back to life, as you saw. So then I'm just going to press these down, and I'm going to lift up the plate of my Altenew Stamp Wheel 2.0, and look what I've got. And I was really pleased with what I had. There were a couple spots, and I brought in an Altenew water brush here, watercolor brush, and started to move the water around. And then I remembered what everybody tells you when you are trying to get into watercolor is just let it do its thing. Don't mess with it, don't force it, just let it do let it do its thing. I was under a little bit of a time crunch, and I've been having kind of a rough day, and so I just decided that I would just let this do its thing. I was going to heat set it. Normally I would let it air dry and really let it do its thing, but I needed to kind of get some things done. So I did get my heat tool out and heat set this. There were some spots that had a lot of ink on them, a lot of water, and so what I'm doing is, you can't see it, but I'm taking a thirsty brush, which is essentially a very dry brush, and just kind of scooping up some of that water, because I do want to spray this again, because like I said, I did miss a few spots. So I do plan on cleaning off the plate and respraying that with water and pressing this down again. And because I'm using my Stamp Wheel 2.0, I can stamp this in the exact same spot, no worries. I am going to heat set this first, just to ensure that I get actual layering, and I can again kind of bump up the color, bump up that watercolor look. So here I have sprayed the plate again. I cleaned off the stamp, sprayed it again with clean water, and pressed it again. I was pleased with how that looked, so I'm going to flip my paper and I'm going to remove a few of the stamps and do this process again. So I placed the stamps down, inked them up, sprayed them with water, pressed the plate back down, and here I am lifting it. I am going to clean it one more time, spray it one more time, and I will dry that. I did cut those out with their coordinating die, and now what I'm doing is I'm taking the part of what is essentially the grout of the brick wall, and I am taking Distress Oxide in the color Lost Shadow and very gently rubbing that across that raised surface, which is the grout. I chose to do a felt pad, a firmer felt pad for that, and I liked the light gray of that Lost Shadow color. I feel like when I do that kind of technique, when I'm trying to be very gentle and not get the ink where I don't want it, if you use a foam pad, that ink is more likely to go where you don't want it. And I have discovered I'm kind of a heavy-handed person, and so I chose to go with a firm felt pad for that. I did glue that brick wall panel down flat to my cream card base, and that is a regular A2 size cream card base from Paper Studio, so Hobby Lobby. And then I took that postage stamp die and I cut that out of HAMMERMILL cardstock, and I arranged some of those stems, those silhouette flowers or leaves, in a somewhat pleasing to my eye arrangement. And I'm just going to take some washi tape and kind of remove some of the tack, and then use that to essentially make this one whole piece, so that when I'm putting liquid glue on the back of that, I don't have to fiddle with each individual piece. I can treat it as a whole. Extra dimension on this would be lovely, but some of those pieces are very, very fine. Because I have a coordinating die, I could just die cut them out several times, but I figured it was probably best to just glue these down flat and then pop up the sentiment. So I'm going to apply little dots of glue all around this, flip it over as one entire piece, and place it back on top of our little postage die there. I went to my stash of already pre-made extras, I guess you could say, sentiments that I have in my stash, and I found this one. This is from a Pink Fresh Studio stamp set, and I can't remember which one it is, but I am going to add some Dollar Tree foam tape to the back of that, and then I'm going to pop that up. But first I'm going to go ahead and glue this down flat. That is, as you can see, I try to use my scraps as much as I can, and so that was what that postage stamp was, or excuse me, postage die was from. I did toy with the idea. I feel like that yellow leaf is kind of really far off to the right. I wasn't really intending that. So I am going to just flip my card over and cut that off, anything that's hanging over. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some foam squares to the back of my sentiment there. I did have to do just a little bit of trimming so that it looked a little nicer. But after that, this card will be complete. So again, just to recap, some of the things that I like to use when I need to make a gender neutral or a very masculine card is I change up the color palette to include deep jewel tones. I do geometrics. My go-to is silhouettes. Another thing is to think about the things that they like. Are they into golf? Are they into planes? Are they into cars? Are they into hunting or fishing or boating? And find things in your stash that you can use to make that. Even if it's just a pattern paper and you put a sentiment on there, finding something that is applicable to them, something that they enjoy, interest them, is a great way to make a card that is not only customizable, but is a great way to let them know that you thought of them in the process of making the card. And so those are some of my go-to things. I do really struggle a lot with masculine cards because I like the flowers, I like the bling, I like the sparkle, I like the shine, I like softness in the right setting. And so doing cards like masculine cards is difficult for me. But this is some of my tips for making that process a little bit more manageable. So that is the completed card. I'm going to take those extras and maybe make another card. I thought about making it into a background actually. So anyway, maybe I'll make a video over that. But that is the card complete. I appreciate you spending time with me. I hope you learned something and have some picked up some tricks and ideas on how to make a masculine card for someone you know, and Father's Day card. So until then, we will see you next time, and bye.